Good evening. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Dr. Foley, roll call.
President Reese, members of the board, please let the record show that all members are present.
Thank you. We are going to have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, we'll go on to our agenda. I move that we approve the agenda as it's presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. Dr. Foley, Superintendent's report.
President Reese, members of the board, we start tonight with our favorite part of our superintendent's report, which is the celebration of our fantastic students, volunteers, and employees. And tonight we have our middle schools in the house with us, and they are one of many celebrations that we will have this evening. So because we're going to start alphabetical, we're going to start with Cooley Middle School. So I'm excited to invite up Mr. Sean Varner, Mr. Brent Brandenburg, and Louisa Shorts to come join us. Ms. Shorts, to celebrate our Points of Pride from Cooley.
Thank you so much, President Reese, members of the board, Dr. Foley, Cabinet. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce some amazing members of Cooley Middle School that really make Cooley Middle School the great family that it is, and a great place to work and a great place for our students to succeed. First, I would like to introduce our Points of Pride volunteer. Miss Beth Carlson, if you could please come up to the front, please. Either side. We're not picky. Again, our Points of Pride volunteer. Ms. Carlson is an invaluable part of the Cooley Middle School Color Guard program. She volunteers countless hours working with our students. Ms. Carlson teaches basic techniques on all equipment, creates choreography, and also spends a lot of her time behind the scenes preparing and planning so our students can have a positive experience in the program. She is ready to do whatever needs to be done to help our students, and she has helped lead our students to several state championships. Ms. Carlson, thank you for all that you do for our Cooley Middle School Color Guard program. We definitely appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we have a gift for you as well. And I think we have a photo op right now. Thank you, Beth. All right, next up, we have our classified employee, Emily Brennan. Come on up. Congratulations. Ms. Brennan is an amazing paraprofessional at Cooley Middle School who works in our self-contained cross-categorical classrooms. She is a tireless worker, and it is obvious from the moment that she walks, or the moment that you walk into the classroom, that she deeply cares about her students and is passionate about her work. It is apparent that she has developed and maintains positive and supportive relationships with all of her students, and there is nothing that she won't do, as she is willing to help with anything that is asked of her because it will benefit her students. We are so lucky to have Ms. Brennan at Cooley Middle School. Ms. Brennan, thank you for all that you do, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
And a gift for you, and of course, a photo op. Technical difficulties. Thanks, Curtis. I promise I didn't do that to that other microphone. I promise. Our teacher, Points of Pride nominee, Lisa Gilbert, come on up. When you think of an example of a person who is calm under pressure, structured, organized, helpful, positive, I could go on and on. Miss Gilbert is the person that comes to mind for Cooley Middle School. Not only does she exhibit these qualities in her classroom, but she also does so in leading the school's math department, as she is our math department chair. Miss Gilbert is a caring teacher who strives to create interactive and engaging learning activities in her classroom, and she is open and willing to share her ideas with her colleagues. It has been fun to watch her mentor a new to the profession teacher this year, as well as hone her leadership skills in working with the math department as a whole, and more specifically, the 8th grade math professional learning community, as she indirectly spreads her ideas to students beyond just her specific classroom. Ms. Gilbert, thank you for all that you do for Cooley Middle School, and again, keep up the great work. I'm doing a number on these microphones. And finally, our Student Points of Pride nominee, Miss Ella Wilson. Will you please come up? Congratulations. Where do I begin with Ella? She excels in the classroom as well as in our Cooley Middle School Student Council. Most of our students recognize Ella from her involvement in our school-wide announcements for the past 2 school years, in which she does an amazing job. If I had to summarize her in one word, it would be passionate. No matter what she does, she puts her full effort and passion into it, and it is evident that she cares about her school and her classmates. Ella is very organized and mature, and it is evident that she is on her way to a very successful high school career and life beyond when she leaves Cooley Middle School. She pushes herself on a daily basis, and she willingly does more than what is asked of her. I enjoyed a positive demeanor that she demonstrates from the moment she gets out of the car in the morning, and it is always enjoyable to talk to her about the goings-on in student council and school in general. Ella, thank you for being you, and keep up the great work, and keep on smiling.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, we'd like to now invite Sossaman, celebrate our Sossaman. So I'm going to invite Principal Dan Fox and Mr. Brandon Keeling to come up and celebrate our Sossaman superstars.
President Reese, members of the board, Dr. Foley, cabinet members, thank you very much for allowing us to honor some of our points of pride here tonight, our stars from our campus. We have so many people to pick from on our campus, and it's always tough to kind of narrow it down, but we've got the real cream of the crop here with us tonight. So first and foremost, our points of pride nomination for our volunteer, Miss Julia Migliaccio. Julia has been a mover and a shaker for Sossaman Middle School this year. With me starting as the new principal and with many of our PTSO moving on to new campuses, we were in a state of transition. Fortunately, Julia has stepped up to help out our new PTSO members and to help provide fun events like our fall carnival and pizza days. When I have needed help with items that only PTSO can help with, Julia has stepped in and gotten it done quickly. Additionally, Julia has helped guide our new officers on the PTSO to make sure we are following proper protocol, and she has been a presence on campus, checking in to make sure everything is getting taken care of in a timely manner. Thank you, Julia, for being a Spartan who gets so much done in support of our teachers and students. All right, for our classified Points of Pride member, Mr. Todd Schuett. So in all my time as an educator, I haven't ever worked with a plant foreman who takes on so many tasks with a smile like Mr. Schuett. Todd is one of the hardest workers I've ever met, and that is evident in the cleanliness and care he imparts on Sossaman Middle School. Mr. Schuett paints entire buildings and hallways all by himself, and he even helps with traffic flow in the morning. In order to make our day run smoothly with over 1,100 students, we need all hands on deck. Fortunately, Todd covers the work of many hands. He is a leader to our students and is proactive in his approach. When we do have a minor emergency, he can fix it in no time. Thank you, Todd, for keeping Sossaman running and for keeping our campus beautiful.
Absolutely, man. Congrats.
And then I'll get Todd flowers tomorrow. For our certified staff, we have Miss Haley Roner. So Miss read that incorrectly. Miss Roner has proved to be a pivotal driver for culture and academics on the Sossaman Middle School campus. Ms. Roner provides insights from her experience as a leader to her science department, and she also guides our student council on what it means to be a leader within a greater community. With Ms. Roner's help, the Fall Festival was very successful. Not only did our students have fun hanging out with friends and playing carnival games, but the carnival was also a great fundraising opportunity for the campus. As our advisor for student council, Ms. Roner builds culture on our campus through spirit days, helping with assemblies, and creating fun and engaging ways for students to interact on campus. Not to be undone by her abilities in making school fun for students, Ms. Roner is also an amazing teacher. She builds authentic experiences for her students, and she tries to make her physics class as hands-on as possible. Thank you for all you do to make Sossman an excellent school. And then, for our last person, our point of pride for our student is Miss Chelsea Kent. And she is so fabulous that she actually couldn't be here tonight because she's currently performing with our band back at Sossman right now. But let's give her a round of applause regardless. So we already have some nice pictures of Chelsea that we will share with Teresa and Curtis for the website. So that way we can have all 4 of our people well represented. Got parents to come down to the campus knowing that we were going to have this performance tonight. But in the words of Chelsea's teacher, Miss Waros, her band teacher, Chelsea is a student that all teachers dream on having. She is always excited to learn and always prepared to learn. From the minute she arrives to class until she leaves, she is engaged and attentive. I can always count on Chelsea to know her music, and she is a leader in her sax section, helping them if they don't understand. She is never boastful or demeaning, just helpful. She is well liked by her peers and teachers. Although Chelsea did online school for the entirety of 7th grade, she hasn't missed a beat and maintains very high grades. It is an absolute pleasure to get to teach Chelsea, and I'm so excited to see all of her successes in the future. Thank you, Chelsea, for being such a positive impact on our campus. And then Teresa Curtis will send those over to you so you guys can post them. So.
And at this time, we're going to take a short little recess, if you will. We're going to head outside so that we can honor the 2021 Division II Oboto State champions, the Williamsfield Black Hawk Regiment. So if you'd like to join us outside for the band, that would be great. All right, thank you for joining us and congratulating the Black Hawk Regiment on their state championship. That was fun. All right, Dr. Foley, to complete the superintendent's report.
President Reese, members of the board, we will pull up our upcoming events. As you can see, we have a superintendent visit coming up at the end of this month, or not this month, the end of this week. The last couple of weeks, there's been so many events, it feels like every week feels like a month. We then have our 2-week winter break. And you see when we come back in January, we have meetings and our superintendent visit to Higley High School coming up. So we do have lots of events as we finish out December and go into January. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. All right, then we will go ahead and move on to board comments. I'll go ahead and just start real quick. I was able to go to the Williams Field playoff game at Chaparral on Friday night, which they barely lost. It was a good game though. But also Dr. Foley and I attended the East Valley School Board Consortium meeting, which was very informative. It was at EVIT, and I want to thank EVIT for hosting, and they provided dinner. Their students, their culinary students, made dinner and provided it for all the East Valley School Board members for our meeting, and it was exciting to have all the students introduce themselves and what schools they go to, and we had Williams Field and we had Higley, and so that was exciting. But they did have a presenter there, and it was very informative, and I know Mr. Walker's working on some stuff, and it was also talked about at the law conference of It Just Takes One Pill, the issues with the fentanyl-laced pills that are going around everywhere, and Pinal County is extremely high, and they're right here. We do right here with Queen Creek, and Maricopa County is also extremely high. So I look forward to the information that we will be putting out to our family, our communities, our students, that they don't have to be a drug addict. They could simply get a pill from a friend that could take their life. So it was very informative and something that needs, as Mr. Edgar out there was talking about a village, this also needs a village to protect our children. So I enjoyed that presentation very much, and so I look forward to what we will be having as well. Other board comments?
Mrs. President Reese. I think several of us enjoyed the Gilbert Chamber of Commerce, Gilbert, I never say it correctly, Excellence of Gilbert Excellence Awards. They do a fantastic job over there. JD's always entertaining. We get the strolling orchestra, which is amazing, and the food's always good, and of course, seeing our very own on stage was awesome. Also honoring the police department was very touching, so it was a great night.
Yes, that was. Thank you. Any other board comments? All right, with that, we'll go on to request to speak. We value input from our constituents. This time has been set aside for anyone from the audience who wishes to address the board. Please remember, this is not an appropriate venue to evaluate, discuss, or criticize district personnel. Policy KEB provides a process for complaints about personnel. Speakers should be aware that false statements about individuals may result in civil liability. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. We do ask that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes. And we have Mr. Scott Hamilton.
All right. Thank you. President Reese, members of the board, Dr. Foley, thank you all for having me here today. I appreciate it. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you in this room. The services you provide contribute to student success, so thank you very much for doing that. And I look forward to the impact Higley graduates are going to make on Gilbert, where I've grown up my entire life. My name is Scott Hamilton, and I'm a member of the Higley Unified School District stakeholder community, and I wanted to address an emerging gap in student services. Currently, the district is experiencing a 17% decay in FAFSA completion between both high schools. Individually, Higley High is experiencing a growth of 22% compared to last year. Williamsfield High is down 40%, 40, compared to last year. This is compounded even worse when you compare that to the previous school year, so the class of 2019. Compared to the class of 2019, Higley High is down 25% and Williamsfield High is down 19%. This is what we refer to as compounding FAFSA losses that we're experiencing because of the pandemic. Reporting from the previous two FAFSA cycles shows us that nearly 41% of the class of 2021 and 48% of the class of 2020 completed their FAFSA within the first 9 weeks of it being available. This Friday marks the 10th week of the application being open. As a leading indicator for college enrollment, FAFSA completion is extremely important for every graduating senior across the district. Research shows that FAFSA completion is strongly associated with post-secondary enrollment. 92% of seniors who complete the FAFSA enrolled by November following graduation versus 51% of students who did not. These emerging enrollment trends are diametrically opposed to the idea that students will graduate from Higley college and career ready, independent, and financially aware. As we know, statistics do not exist in a vacuum. If these trends are being seen in FAFSA completion, it bears consideration that related factors such as application rates, college entrance exam participation, and student post-secondary intention should also be scrutinized. These are all key factors in post-secondary matriculation and retention for students. As such, I'm asking that consideration be given to what is being done at the school site level to increase FAFSA completion and post-secondary pathway support, and what can we as a community do to support this initiative as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have no other request to speak. So thank you, Mr. Hamilton, for coming. With that, we will be going into executive session. I move that we move into executive session for discussion or consultation for legal advice with the governing board's attorney pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3 and ARS 38-431.03A4 regarding potential consent judgment with the Attorney General's office regarding procurement concerns.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. We will return after executive session. Okay, we're going to go ahead and resume our regular meeting. This brings us to our consent agenda. I move that we approve our consent agenda as it's presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding our consent agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. All right, we're going to go on to 8.1, which is our budget timeline for fiscal year 2023. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, President Reese and members of the board. I just want to acknowledge with that approval of the consent agenda item, item 7.14, you approved the services for architectural services for the Higley High School project to DLR Group. In attendance tonight is Ms. Carmen Wyckoff. She's the lead architect for this project. Ms. Wyckoff and DLR brings a wealth of experience to this project, and we are very excited to work with them. A fun fact is they were actually the original architects to build Higley High, so kind of full circle. Again, we're really excited to work with DLR in this project, and you will see more information regarding that project in future board meetings. So,
We're all very excited to have you. Thank you.
yeah. All right. So, fiscal year 22-23 budget calendar timeline. Yes, we are talking budget for 22-23 already. Good evening, Board President Reese, members of the board. Tonight I'll be going over a high-level overview of our fiscal year 22-23 budget calendar timeline. This tentative calendar will cover several important board meeting dates and the information that will be presented on those dates. I want to emphasize this is a moving calendar with various factors affecting budget, and some of these dates on these calendars may be moved around. There we go. All right, January 2022. Starting next year in January 2022, we have 2 board meetings scheduled. The first, January 12th, 2022, will bring the first review of a 2022 bond proposal. Since the November election, the district has been reviewing and revising several of the categories presented in the 2021 bond proposal. Within the process, the district has consulted with a consulting agency to survey our voters. The surveying has just recently begun, and we have received a few complaints regarding the survey and the content within the survey. We have since paused the survey and working with the consulting agency to resolve those issues. For clarification, the survey is commonly done throughout the state, and the intention of the district was to gather feedback from our community regarding the 2021 bond proposal. We value our community's opinion and want to take into consideration when asking for bond funding for our district. So the intention of that survey, again, was to provide further guidance for our 22 proposal that you'll be reviewing, or we'll take a first review at on January 12th. Also in the first meeting of January, we'll review our medical insurance and share some potential changes that we have coming. We anticipate minimal changes to the employee in terms of plans offered and various coverages offered by the district. Lastly, I mentioned earlier this calendar is tentative. In that third item there, the meet and confer update, we're actually moving that to February 9th. So very tentative. Lastly, in the January 26th meeting, we'll take a look at a first review of the M&O 22-23 maintenance and operation budget. We'll talk a little bit about the second stipend. We'll also discuss some of the legislative laws that are currently being discussed in terms of the aggregate expenditure limit. There's several funding implications regarding that right now. We'll review those if no changes have been made at that time. We'll also talk about capital transfers. We'll review a little bit about the lease transfer and several other factors affecting the 22-23 budget. And again, that second item, the action, the approval of classroom site fund will be moved to February 26th. All right, February 9th. In February, we'll bring a first review of the 22-23 capital outlay budget. Within this capital budget, we'll discuss some of the implications of the bond not passing and a phased down major project approach. So a lot of that has affected the capital budget. So we'll review that on February 9th. And you'll see, again, a lot of second reviews here. So much like we did last fiscal year, we'll bring these items multiple times. Information budget changes constantly, even over months. So we'll review those and make sure we update the board on any updates that we may have taken into consideration between each board meeting. The fourth item down, you'll see an information item on new contract language for all employees. Ms. Martins will present the new fiscal year 22-23 contract language for all employee groups. This is in preparation for March, when employee contracts will be issued for next school year. So again, on that second board meeting, you'll see, again, a lot of the same information coming back to you. You'll see a third review of the 22-23 maintenance and operation budget. We put if needed. Again, if none of the information changes and the board feels they have the information necessary moving into March, well, we'll ask for tentative approval. We may pull that item. The second item, though, you'll see an action item on the contract language for all employee groups. And again, Ms. Martins will provide that action item and address any concerns or changes that may be made from the first meeting in February. As we move into March, we only have one meeting in each of these months. Again, you'll see a lot of the same information coming back to you. In March, we'll ask for tentative approval of our maintenance and operation budget. This is, again, so we can issue contracts early. This helps with staffing, letting us know which employees are coming back. It also helps with budgeting, knowing which employees are coming back and budgeting for those particular employees. We'll bring a second review of the capital outlay budget. And then we'll also tentatively plan to bring a resolution for the 22 bond. You'll note that this is a lot earlier than last year. A lot of our bond information we plan on rolling over into this proposal, excuse me. Again, with reviewing and revising some of those implications that we get back, or some of the feedback we get back from the community, our stakeholders, our principal group, et cetera. The reason this bond proposal will ask for a resolution early is so our PAC can get out early and start that communication. On April 20th, we'll ask for tentative approval for the capital outlay budget. This is a reminder to get out in front of those summer projects that need early procurement. So we'll have a tentative approval of the capital budget on April 20th, and then May and June. So on May 11th, we'll bring back the medical insurance conversation. May 11th was picked due in part to open enrollment being tentatively planned for May 12th through the 27th. If there is benefit changes, we anticipate minimal. We do plan to have that information available at that time, and Ms. Martins will be available to present that information so we can make our employees aware of any changes or potential changes that may take place for next fiscal year. And then we have some fun public stuff. So this is some annual stuff that we are obligated to do by certain dates. So we'll have our public hearing for our budget revision for fiscal year 22, our current year. We are obligated to do that before May 15th. And then June 8th and June 22nd, we will have our proposed budget and a public hearing for our adopted budget for fiscal 23. So these will be budgets that we have reviewed throughout, all throughout the year, from January to March. And so this will be the official time in which those budgets are adopted. And again, at that same time, we'll bring some of our annual purchasing renewals, several of our co-op contracts. If we have any RFPs that we're renewing for next fiscal year, we'll also bring that as well. So in short, that is a quick highlight of what next year entails in terms of budget. Again, we'll have information coming to you in terms of status, as well as we'll be in front of you multiple times regarding the same information. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to.
President Reese.
Mrs. Wilson?
Dr. Foley, if we're getting closer to that April timeframe, and it's still looking like it did this year with construction costs and all that. Please feel free, I think from my standpoint, to push it up to that March date so you can get that procurement, so we can have those things ordered, because I know last year we struggled having some items in time. So if that happens to be the case this year, as it seems like it might be already in December, that, you know, we push that up to make sure that our crews are working through the summer.
President Reese, Vice President Wilson, thank you for the feedback. I'd like to also, it's really important to see, this is a big deal. Every little bullet on here is hundreds of hours of work behind that, and it gives you an idea too, so that you can have an understanding of what we're bringing and why and when, and you'll also begin seeing these details also in status report so that you can ask questions, and that way we can come prepared. And again, we always try to provide the information before you vote. And it's really important too, because we start early, as Tyler did a great job of explaining, we are kind of building this as you're flying it, and different things come from the state and change. And what we do is we take our forecasts and we begin to get clearer and clearer and clearer about what our reality is. And again, a lot of work is going into this, but so that you can see, we have a very detailed timeline. You should see the behind the scenes, what, when, where, how much, what needs to be done for each of our meetings for preparing for this, and then providing for status. So just know that we have a lot of work to do, but you have a great team who's working really hard to get information so that we can be progressive and thoughtful in all of the proposals that we bring to you.
Thank you. And Mr. Moore, thank you for all the work and time and effort you've put into this. I can tell you, with going through the same process and having these dates and knowing what we were going to be talking about, that you went over it over and over again, which was great. I'm not saying it was very helpful. So while this past year our information didn't change a whole lot, we knew we were waiting on some federal funding and different things like that. I have to tell you, I felt so much more informed on our budget and what we were doing, where we were going, how this was happening. And then, like Dr. Foley said, some of the why. Why are we doing this and why are we doing that? So I know that's a lot of time that you put into, not necessarily the PowerPoint, but like Dr. Foley said, everything that goes behind that. And I can tell you I appreciate that with the information you provide, and you give us ample opportunity to ask questions and to be informed, so thank you. Any other questions? Perfect, thank you. All right, we'll go on to 8.2 on our substitute daily rates. Ms. Martins.
Good evening, President Reese, Vice President Wilson, members of the Governing Board, and my fellow colleagues and community. Tonight, we're going to be discussing our substitute daily rates. Some of what preempted this was the fact that actually I was at the Arizona School Personnel Association conference back just before the Thanksgiving holiday, and in that we learned about some other districts and what they were doing to get people taking assignments, because we are still observing or having low fill rates, and I'll talk about those percentages as we move forward. But it would be helpful if you turned it on. So thank you. That's user error on my part. I apologize. So currently, and if you recall, back in April of 2021, the board approved an increase to our daily sub rates from what we had previously had. We had been one of the lower districts in doing a survey across the district with an effective date of July 1 of 2021, moving to a daily rate from 100 to 125, a long-term rate to 120 to 145, and incentivizing the Higley retirees from 100 to 145 actually kind of put this right up there with the exception of a neighboring very large district. So we were feeling very good about that, but just as we're struggling in many areas with our labor shortage, we're struggling in this area in terms of sub-pools too. And noticing that, again, like I mentioned earlier, our fill rates weren't very high. And then, of course, as we're doing this and presenting and looking to this, there was a release in the newspaper the same week from a district not too far away in the East Valley that raised their subs from $115 a day to $175. So that was a bit of a sulking, sober moment for us in the bigger picture. But we still think there's value in doing this in the larger picture because of the fact that we continue to have sub shortages, as I said. Pre-COVID, our fill rates were in the 90 percentile, and currently our fill rates average in the 60 to 70 percentile, and our hardest fill days are Mondays and Fridays. So at the conference, we had heard from some of the other districts, not necessarily within the valley, but other areas in which they offer higher rates on their hard-to-fill days and have found that that has proven some value for them. And I thought, well, what a great idea to do that. And we hadn't done that in the past. And so in consulting with cabinet as well as consulting with our attorney, thought it was best to come to the board and do a session as well as an action item so that way we could offer that higher rate on Fridays and Mondays in the bigger picture. We certainly don't know whether or not we'll see an increase in our fill rates, but we think that if we can make any effort that we can, this is the way to go. And I was just talking with Sam, our Chartwell's director, just now, as we're commiserating in terms of hard to fill, and then hearing something, and then you think you're doing good, and like I said, then you kind of feel sober the moment when you hear the news about something else where it's almost $50 higher than what you're paying currently. But we still think it's important, and we're looking at just Fridays and Mondays because we're already in our budget cycle, and we know that on Fridays and Mondays, when we think about cushion and where we're at, it's likely that we can comfortably go that way in our budget versus a large overhaul and looking at increasing for all of our days across the board. As you recall, and you'll get an info item here in January, late January, we do our subs through Educational Service Incorporated, ESI, and our budget is in the $1 million range. So if we were to look at doing this in a larger picture, it would have a much larger budget impact, and we're just not comfortable with that right now. It's something we could potentially assess if we see this as positive and moving in the right direction and looking at what we're expending and how much we're expending as we move forward. So, we can't move too quickly, but again, hoping this will incentivize in the bigger picture with that recommendation. And you'll see that action item today so we can move there. And like I said, it's not a number that we don't have currently. It's an active daily rate number that we have. It's just incentivizing and doing on other days that we had not been doing it. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
I just have one question. So there's not a shortage of people, right? It's a shortage of people accepting, correct?
Correct.
So the ESI, right?
Correct.
Yeah, they have enough people. It's just, okay.
Yeah. So our pool in Higley is probably about 200 to 300, but we probably have only about 100 of those that actually take assignments. During the heart of COVID, we did a survey, and the survey showed that people just weren't comfortable still in taking the assignments, and that's what we still feel is happening, as well as the fact that, on Fridays and Mondays, individuals like long weekends across the board, and that's something that we have to address in a big picture in terms of our employees and what's happening on those days too. But, there's still things that are happening, whether it's something personal, it's being pre-approved, or there's different district assignments that are happening with sports and teachers that have to be gone. So we need to make sure that we're still able to offer the services that we need for our current community and then support them through this capacity too.
President Reese, I have a question for Mom. Are you guys receiving feedback from the guest teachers on their experiences? Are y'all tracking numbers of maybe there's people just aren't returning because of that experience or they're not prepared? And we talked about this before about having things and access to online. I don't know, how do you guys do it here? Do the teachers like where we're at, if we're absent, we're like, go to our Google Classroom. Everything's there now. Like there's no more making copies. It's all just online and almost remote. Is that the same, or do y'all have the same capabilities in the classrooms here?
So Board Member Anderson, it's a good question, and correct, we did dialogue a little bit about this. So our, what we term rescue subs or permanent subs, which we created in the right before COVID or during COVID, you know, I still am using the excuse it's all a blur, but those rescue subs get training in regards to our Canvas page, access, and they have more access and rights because they're there on a daily basis at our various sites from our elementaries to our secondary schools. So our one-off subs, those subs that just do a day here, a day there, at multiple sites, at various sites, they don't have the same access rights, but we do make sure that there is a packet of information available to them. You raise a good question, and this actually came up probably about, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks ago, where we did receive some communication from some of our subs that the experience is very different from one site to another site. So we have a new HR specialist who oversees our sub area, and I've talked with her about surveying and taking a look at the schools that have received positive feedback about their sub experience and how we can model that in other areas. We additionally want to make sure that in addition to what ESI is providing for training, which they're doing globally because they serve multiple districts, so you know, they're not niching necessarily specifically, but what can we do to offer a supplemental to that to have it niche specifically for Higley? So our new subspecialist, who just started probably about a month ago, once she gets a little bit more acclimated, we'll start to look into that too.
President Reese, when you talk about this sub rate, there's going to be teachers leaving the field to go be a sub at this point. It's kind of scary to me that that would be, you know, the fee. So anyways, thanks for bringing this to us.
Yeah, Board Member Kaler, actually, as we were sitting here, I received a text from a certified teacher, which another school district here in the East Valley is now incentivizing their subs. As long as they work 60 days a year, they can receive a $1,000 supplemental. So we're trying.
It just goes to show how dire it is, right? And you say that the fill rate's so different, but what are the numbers of the absences? Like, how much have those increased? So it's 90% before, but now, you know, people just feel more obligated to be out because they're just so worried. You know, so just a sneeze, a headache, you know, just even the fear of having anything, they're just out. Their children, they're out for everything now.
Yeah, Board Member Anderson, we did do our diligence in regards to looking at last school year in compared to previous school years. Best was pre-COVID to look at our absences and our totals, and for the most part, we're trending in the same direction. There wasn't anything more, and there had been some questions from some of our constituents in regards to, is it individuals who are not interested in returning and utilizing time as they depart? And we were seeing average use of rates at the same for those who were returning versus those who were not returning. So there wasn't any difference in the bigger picture. So
It's good to know.
Thank you for looking into all of that. I mean, substitutes is another part of the labor pool that we continue to struggle with everywhere. And, you know, I appreciate you trying to be creative. The other problem of it is our other teachers get burnt out because when we can't find substitutes, we pull who we can from the site, and then we pull who we can from the district level. And then at that point, if it's an elementary school, those classes have to be broken up and go with other teachers. So other teachers are getting more kids. At the high schools, they're missing their prep time. They're compensated for it, but when it's over and over and over again, they're missing their prep time for their own class, and they're covering other classes. So that creates another, it's just the domino effect, that creates another concern on teachers are already stretched thin, and when we can't find substitutes, that makes it more difficult. So I'm hopeful that this is short-lived, I hope, but I'm also fearful of this back and forth competitive. Where does it end? Where do we land? And then what is our new number coming back from this, so that budgets can support. So thank you for bringing this and coming up with an alternative solution, at least for our hard-to-fill days. I appreciate that. All right, any other questions? Okay, so we will go on to our action items. All right, so we'll go on to 9.1. I move that we approve entering into a consent judgment with the Attorney General's office regarding procurement concerns and authorize the district administration to execute any necessary documents.
Second.
Any questions or comments? No? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right. So we will go on to 9.2. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. I know it's at the bottom. Okay. Thanks. All right. We'll go on to 9.2.
It's December.
It's something. I move that we approve the, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. All right. I move that we approve the increase of pay for the classified staff and the increase to the classified salary schedule as it's presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments regarding the salary schedule? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Anyone else wants to jump in? Go for it.
President Reese, I move that we're moving on to 9.3. I move that the governing board approves the modified contract for our managers, supervisors, and coordinators.
Second.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries 5-0. Go on to 9.4. I move that we approve the 2022-2023 course guide for high school, middle school, and the Higley Virtual Academy as it's presented.
Second.
All right. Any questions, comments?
Yes, President Reese, I wasn't here for the presentation, but I did watch it online and thoroughly reviewed the guidebooks or the course guidebooks. And I'm very pleased that there are some new math options for our students. Thank you very much for that. We've been asking for that for a little bit of time, so I appreciate that. I also am very grateful for American Sign Language online. I can retire now, so I'm really pleased to see that at Higley.
Hi, any other questions or comments?
I did miss the presentation as well. I was at science camp, but I reviewed everything too, and it looks great to me. So.
Perfect. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries 5-0.
President Reese, one more comment on the guidebook. I love the fact, too, that we have that. I don't know exactly what it's called off the top of my head, but in high school for the kind of study, we called it like study hour, but it's for kids that just need that extra time in a class with some supervision. I always had that growing up in high school, and I always wondered why we didn't have it here in Arizona, so thank you for bringing that. I think that is an exceptional class and needed.
We used to somewhere along the way, it went away with many other things. All right, we're going to go on to 9.5. I move that we approve For teacher absences on Fridays and Mondays, our daily substitute rate goes to $145 per day versus our current $125 per day.
Second.
Was that? Okay. I thought so. All right, any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. All right, anyone have any future agenda items? We still have ours listed. Sounds like we're good there. All right, I move that we adjourn.
President Reese?
Mrs. Kaler.
One moment, I'm sorry. Nothing for a future agenda item, but I do agree with Mr. Hamilton that spoke tonight that FAFSA, it's a difficult process. It's not easy to navigate. It's just not easy, to be honest, and there's all these different steps. And so anytime that we can have, those, I know parents don't always come, but we offer them to come to the high school campus and get that training. I don't know if we can advertise it more or whatnot, but I do agree that, it's a difficult process and it's hard for those new parents, especially those with their first time. Once you do it once, it's that first time college student, that first graduate that we really need to reach those parents. So whatever you can do.
Board Member Kaler, absolutely. And one of the things too, as you see, is we have one of our upcoming agenda items is how we prepare students beyond. One of the things in our Portrait of the Graduate, one of the things that is available that hasn't been available to us before, I've been working with Joe O'Reilly, who now works with ASU, and he also works with Helios. One of the things that they have done is created a dashboard that allows us to go back to 2017 and actually track how all of our graduates are doing in each of the program areas, how well they are doing, how well. We have additional data to us that has just come out that has never been available for us. I mean, we've had the clearinghouse data, but we have new tools and dashboards that have just come out. In fact, we were just playing with these passwords a week ago on going in. And in fact, one of the things they've identified is that Higley actually has one of the best in the state, students who do well in engineering. We have data for us that we hadn't even seen before. So in addition to Fafsa Completion, we now have some post-secondary, how are our kids doing, where are we doing well, maybe not as well, that hadn't existed before. So I think this is a larger conversation that a lot of pieces are being worked on, and it'll be part, I think you'll see more of us share more information about what we've learned and what we are doing when we come to you in May as part of that Portrait of a Graduate and as part of how we're preparing students for life beyond, and literally data available to us about our own graduates and how they're doing across than we never had before. Yep.
Sounds great. It sounds like it's a lot more information than a phone call saying, hey, are they there? Did they graduate? What are they doing? So.
This data dashboard is amazing, and you can track it down and monitor how they're doing in what program areas and even how they did in certain classes by their grades. So this is a part of a grant with Arizona State University in Helios, but it tracks across regardless of where they've gone. So a cool new thing that is coming out and will be a big piece for us as we look at that. So beyond just FAFSA completion, right, but actually how are our kids doing, and if they're doing well, why, and if not, why are they not?
Thank you. And I agree with Mrs. Kaler, FAFSA is not easy. So, all right. Then with that, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have happy holidays, and everyone, we will see you after the first of the year. That motion carries 5-0.